here today to provide an interim update on the 35th America's Cup while we continue to work on the various reports and impact assessments which we will deliver as a part of our transparent assessment of the economic, environmental, and social and legacy aspects of hosting this event. I'd like to begin by formally extending our congratulations to Grant Dalton and all of Emirates Team New Zealand, who were near flawless in their execution on the water. The sporting world eagerly awaits news of the Kiwi approach to AC36, and we look forward to continuing to explore any potential role that might make sense for Bermuda. We acknowledge Oracle Team USA, who, as the good role models they are, were appropriately magnanimous in defeat and who have been great neighbors and contributors to our community over these past couple of years. We also congratulate our partners at the America's Cup Event Authority on a successful event. Sir Russell Coutts and Sam Hollis of the ACA, and of course Larry Ellison, as well as Norbert Badgerin, Commodore of the Golden Gate Yacht Club, who put their confidence in Bermuda and our small team to deliver the best America's Cup in its 166-year history. And Bermuda nailed it. This journey, though, started back in early 2014 with the first exploratory contact from Russell regarding the potential of hosting an America's Cup in Bermuda. As the process became public, there were all kinds of commentators speculating about Bermuda as a stalking horse for either San Francisco or San Diego, surely to be used and cast aside. As we came to understand the vision, the alignment with Bermuda's natural strengths and capabilities, and the potential to create a real and lasting value for the Bermuda brand and our people, we began to see how hosting the AC could make sense for Bermuda and become a catalyst for much more than a sailboat race. By the time things got serious, the bid process took up much of 2014, and Bermuda was named the host venue of the 35th America's Cup in December. Many were shocked, and even more were skeptical. We then spent the next 2+ years planning for and delivering on Bermuda's promises in the host venue agreement, including the World Series event in October 2015, through the final races of the Cup, which concluded last week. Those transformational preparations took place while Bermuda and the world watched. Many believed we couldn't produce, or wouldn't deliver on time or on budget. Some worried about whether or not we could get planning permission or support from the environmental community, or be able to source the financing or the materials for the construction of Cross Island. How would we get a ship so large in the South Basin? How would we preserve the environmental habitat in the surrounding waters? We did all those things and more. Others fretted that we would ignore the interest of the wider community, or whether we would effectively engage the non-sailing community, youngsters, and small businesses. Would the board of ACBDA be representative? Would our contract tenders be transparent and fair? Would the benefits flow to the stereotypical usual suspects at the expense of others seeking to benefit from significant expenditures? How could we possibly deliver Cross Island and the superyacht marinas in time? And how would Her Majesty's Customs manage with the volume of yachts and visitors? Could we service the demand for transportation to and from the event and across the island? How would we handle security for an event of this scale in today's world? And where would all the sewage go from the visiting yachts? Who would care for the turtles? And the questions continued. In the end, reasonable people can disagree on the details, but the overwhelming indications are that the event has been successful, both for Bermuda's brand and the wider community, and will continue to drive value into the future. After the data is collected and analyzed, we'll report back in detail in October on the economic, environmental, and social impacts of the Cup, but I have every reason to believe that it will be consistent with our projections and our expectations. We also expect to deliver Bermuda's commitments well within our overall budget, and that our governance, financial transparency, and discipline will set the standard for other similar organizations and entities. We will compile our operational plans and the learnings from the AC35 for future reference and summarize the legacy outcomes and benefits. In the coming months, we'll explore how best to continue America's Cup Endeavor program, which has already touched the lives of literally thousands of young people as well as establish the future course for Team BDA, who have inspired us and awakened in us a national pride unlike I've ever seen. Mike will cover some additional detail in a moment, but in addition to AC35, at the same time, we also hosted over 400 visiting yachts, including approximately 75 super yachts, the America's Cup Super Yacht Regatta, the J-Class Regatta, the Red Bull Youth America's Cup Regatta, including our very own Team BDA, itself a magical story of accomplishment. Bermuda has forever left its mark on a global sport, one of only 6 countries to ever host the America's Cup in its 166-year history. Our experience in hosting AC35 has reinforced for me some important concepts and beliefs which I'd like to share. The first is that a small group of dedicated people can achieve great things. That applies at once to our little team at America's Cup Bermuda and to our XL Catlin First Mates volunteers, but also to Bermuda as a whole. We do punch above our weight when we work together, as hosting the America's Cup clearly revealed. And we can achieve greatness if we set our sights on a shared prize. But we can also be our own worst enemy and must guard against small-town attitudes that hold us back in a global economy and interconnected world. It's easy to complain or find fault with the work of others, but it's a lot more satisfying to be part of something positive and uplifting. In the lead up to the Cup, we spent countless hours working on getting to yes, when the natural tendency was for people to tell us why something couldn't or wouldn't work and why our approach wouldn't work. To keep the positive mojo we all felt during the Cup, we need to shift our mindset and define a clear and compelling common vision, engage our community in the journey, and acknowledge and learn from our mistakes. A particular point of pride was watching all the services such as Bermuda Police, Fire and Rescue, the hospital, St. John's, the Royal Bermuda Regiment, and others work very closely together in the Joint Coordination Center, and the regiment as they welcomed our guests to the America's Cup Village and managed the security screening process. They did us all proud, and it really did feel like one big family. One of the best ways to defeat a team is to start them fighting amongst themselves and distracting them from the real job at hand. And ACBDA did the opposite. We worked together as a tight and focused team, each having the other's back to ensure things didn't fall through the cracks. As a community, let's learn from our experience in hosting this successful global event and put that to work in making Bermuda a better place. This evening, we will have the privilege of recognizing and thanking the many volunteers and professionals who've supported our efforts across the various ACBDA committees and functions. And I'd personally like to thank and recognize the ACBDA board for their guidance and support, as well as ACBDA's CEO, Mike Winfield, and the ACBDA team for their incredible dedication, professionalism, and attention to detail. I'd also like to make special mention of Jasmine Smith from the Government Department of Economic Development, who is an incredible role model as a dedicated, competent, hardworking civil service leader, without whom we would simply not have been as successful. I've had the pleasure of working with several high-performing teams in my career, and you're all inspirational and should be extremely proud of what you've accomplished together. I'd also like to thank the spouses, partners, and families of our extended team and volunteers who represent the strength and support behind our accomplishments, and without whom we would not have been able to make the contributions that we did. And finally, the corporate, family, and individual sponsors who came together to support Bermuda's bid and delivery of this world-class event. Thank you.
Just a few words from me, just to elaborate a little bit on detail. And while the 35th Cup, America's Cup, is effectively behind us, we at the ACBDA still have a great deal of work to do, and that work is now underway. However, I believe it's important for Bermuda to recognize just what has been accomplished. As Peter has said, there were many who believed Bermuda were simply not capable of delivering the depth and detail of its responsibilities in regards to the America's Cup. We have proved those critics wrong. And Bermuda needs collectively to take a few moments to celebrate on a job well done. The delivery of the America's Cup was an opportunity for thousands of Bermudians to come together, sharing a common vision with defined budgets and timeframes, and deliver an event stretched over many weeks to world-class standards, and in doing so, present Bermuda to the world as never seen before. It gave us a chance to present the Bermuda brand to millions, even a billion people, and we delivered on all counts. I believe we all, collectively, need to take a little time to celebrate our achievement. While Bermuda moves on with new challenges, it's important for us to recognize just how good we can be when tested and when collectively engaged. Truly, Team Bermuda, all of us, however we were involved, have demonstrated we have the skills, capacity, and tenacity to deliver world-class standards, indeed to standards that many are saying delivered the best America's Cup in history. Well done, Bermuda. Nothing that follows AC 35 can be allowed to dilute the pride and satisfaction we all can feel and the enormous achievement of what has been accomplished, and accomplished together as a community. We are one of only 6 countries to have ever hosted the America's Cup, and we have now set the bar high for future events. It's important to recognize the process we used to make this happen. First, we started with our commitments that arose from the contract between Bermuda and the America's Cup Event Authority. That defined our responsibilities. We then elected to reach out and find professionals to lead committees, and they in turn brought in both volunteers and experts relevant to their specific deliverables. Those committees, some 14 in all, then spent many months formulating detailed plans. Those plans were tested, rewritten, tested again, and in the end became essential elements in the master plan for delivery of the 35th America's Cup. The process is a testament to the strength of planning. Invest the hours in preparation and you can eliminate the pitfalls that inevitably arise in delivery. Spend time conceiving of what could go wrong and then plan how to mitigate. This was done and the results speak for themselves. We need to recognize the extraordinary work of many, many people who spent so many hours developing and delivering those plans. We have only positive outcomes, economically and socially, and for the future of Bermuda's event tourism brand. As Peter said, the details will be delivered specifically in October. The individual game changers, such as the confidence seen, as one example, in the middle school children who participated in the AC Endeavor program, some 2,000 of them, and are doing better in their schools as a result of their increased confidence, and will be defined, and all of the other benefits, and I use that just as an example, will be defined in these new reports we will produce. We have people at work developing a series of reports that will define those benefits, explain the impacts environmentally, socially, and economically, and will further outline both actual and potential legacy opportunities. We aim to have these reports, as I said, ready by October. There is some emphasis on early information and early statistics, but we believe we must take our time, gather data from a wide cross-section of the community, and we want those reports to be accurate, real, and meaningful, and it would be wrong to rush that process. We are realizing that there are many now asking, what's next? As detailed in the attachments we are presenting today, there are a number of definitive events that will follow on from the America's Cup. Let me name just a few. One, as Peter said, we've developed in a very short period of time a world-class sailing team that performed at the highest levels of performance sailing in the Red Bull Youth Team BDA. Opportunities will arise from this, and the management of that team are already focused on what's next. The International Moths competition is already booked to Bermuda. Oyster Yachts will be holding their regatta in Bermuda. The World Triathlon Series will hold an event in Bermuda in 2018, and there are many other events that are already in discussion, most of which result from Bermuda having established its credibility in being able to host international events to the standard we hosted AC 35. I also want to draw attention to the way we brought so many entities within Bermuda together, in particular operating under the structure, which was unique for Bermuda, of the Joint Agency Control Center, the Royal Bermuda Regiment, Marine and Ports, Her Majesty's Customs, Bermuda Police Service, St. John's Ambulance, the hospital, and so many more came together as a single dedicated team. And day after day, delivered with excellence. Ferry pilots and their crews, taxi drivers, and so many others delivered to exacting standards for weeks We created a new pre-booking ferry ticket system, park and ride, internet and Wi-Fi capabilities were significantly broadened and expanded, and Bermuda can boast to be the first country in the world to have put forward on-water Wi-Fi. These are just highlights, and I urge you all to spend some time reading the attached handout. But there is one important message that I think we have to deliver, and it's simply this. We have proven that when Bermudians come together with a collective vision, that we can deliver to world-class standards. Yet again, we have proven that Bermuda has punched above its weight. It has defied the naysayers and demonstrated just why we have, as a tiny community in the middle of the Atlantic, managed to capture worldwide attention. I hope we can all take time to celebrate our collective success, but also to take a lesson from our accomplishments and understand that by working together, we truly can overcome any challenge. One last comment I want to make that was missed, I think, which was significant. In the press conference that immediately followed New Zealand winning the America's Cup and becoming the defender, Grant Dalton, the general manager of New Zealand, was very specific, one, in praising Bermuda and the organization of the AC35, but also in saying definitively that they look forward, New Zealand look forward to discussing with Bermuda, future events associated with AC36. There was an article recently published that suggested that an individual associated with that team had said it would only be challengers in the team. The article was being quoted was actually weeks before the results. So Grant Dalton's statement is the latest statement of record from New Zealand, and I believe it's the first time that any new defender has ever committed, such as he did, to a destination. That is significant.